Imagine the air thick with tension and gunpowder, the ground shaking under the roar of cannons. This is Yorktown, 1781, where a pivotal battle would decide the fate of a young nation. Welcome to the Siege of Yorktown, the dramatic finale of the American Revolutionary War. Here, American and French forces teamed up to corner the British, setting the stage for a battle that would end a long and exhausting fight for freedom. Under the command of General George Washington, this alliance was ready to challenge British power once and for all. Join us as we dive into the gritty details of the siege that brought a superpower to its knees and helped birth a new nation. Get ready for a story of cunning, courage, and a fight for independence that changed the world. By 1781, the flames of the Revolutionary War had been burning for 6 long years. British forces under Lord Cornwallis had entrenched themselves in Yorktown, Virginia, a strategic spot that promised control over the vital southern routes. The British thought Yorktown's position on the Virginia Peninsula, surrounded by the York River, was nearly impregnable, a perfect base to hold and even launch new attacks. Meanwhile, George Washington, seeing a golden opportunity, coordinated with French allies to plan a decisive strike. This wasn't just another battle, it was a move that could end the war. With the French fleet blocking escape by sea and American troops ready on land, Yorktown was set to be the stage for a major showdown. The stage was set, the players were ready, and the final act of a long struggle for American independence was about to begin. In late September 1781, Yorktown's quiet fields transformed into a bustling hub of war preparation as American and French troops converged on the small Virginia town. General George Washington and French General Rochambeau, in a display of international unity and military strategy, had pulled off a rapid, secretive march from New York to Virginia, catching the British off guard. This alliance was the result of meticulous planning and shared determination to deal a final blow to British ambitions in America. The French fleet, commanded by Admiral de Grasse, played a crucial role, sailing north from the Caribbean to block the Chesapeake Bay, cutting off any British escape or reinforcement by sea. On land, the troops prepared with precision, digging trenches, setting up artillery positions, and strategizing under the watchful eyes of their commanders. Every soldier, whether American or French, knew the weight of what was to come. The air buzzed with a mix of tension and resolve. As they set up camp, the Allied forces carefully encircled the British, tightening their grip day by day. Washington and Rochambeau frequently met, poring over maps and dispatches, adjusting their plans as reports came in from scouts and spies. The coordination between ground forces and the naval blockade was a dance of military artistry, each move calculated to seal the fate of the British troops, trapped within Yorktown's defenses. The siege lines drawn, cannons ready, and soldiers on alert, the stage was set for what would be the most dramatic and decisive confrontation of the Revolutionary War. The Allied commanders knew the battle ahead would require a final push, a concentrated effort to break the British resistance once and for all. The early days of October 1781 marked the beginning of the siege, as the first cannonballs tore through the autumn sky towards the British defenses. This was not random bombardment. Each shot was strategically aimed to dismantle the British stronghold, piece by piece. American and French artillery pounded the enemy lines with relentless fury, their cannons booming in a chorus that echoed across the battlefield. The goal was clear: weaken the British fortifications and morale to pave the way for a ground assault. As the cannon fire blazed, American and French soldiers began the slow, dangerous task of trench warfare. Under the cover of their own artillery, they dug trenches closer to the British lines, a methodical advance that allowed them to move forward while staying protected from enemy fire. This tactic, though slow and grueling, was essential for maintaining the siege and preparing for a final attack. The British, well aware of their precarious situation, were not idle. They returned fire, cannons roaring back across the no-man's land, trying desperately to disrupt the Allied advance. There were moments when the entire peninsula seemed to shake under the force of the artillery exchanges. Despite their efforts, the British found themselves increasingly hemmed in, their options dwindling as the Allied encirclement tightened. In a bold move to break the deadlock, the British launched several fierce counterattacks, attempting to push back the encroaching siege lines. These skirmishes were brutal, marked by hand-to-hand combat and the harsh cries of men in battle. However, each British counter-assault was repelled, with the Allies holding their ground and continuing their systematic encroachment. The determination of the American and French troops was palpable, their spirits buoyed by each small victory as they inched ever closer to victory. As the Siege of Yorktown wore on into mid-October, the Allied forces were poised for the final push. The British defenses, battered by continuous bombardment and weakened by the encircling Allied troops, were on the brink of collapse. It was time for the climactic moment of the siege, the all-out assault that would decide the fate of the British Army in America. On the night of October 14th, under a dark sky pierced by the flashes of cannon fire, American and French soldiers prepared for what would be one of the most daring operations of the siege. In a coordinated effort, they launched a surprise attack on two critical British redoubts, fortified positions that were key to the enemy's defenses. Led by the fearless Alexander Hamilton and the Marquis de Lafayette, the troops stormed the redoubts with bayonets fixed, climbing over earthworks under heavy fire. The fighting was fierce and direct. American and French soldiers, driven by a mix of adrenaline and determination, overcame the British defenders with a swift and decisive action. Within minutes, the redoubts fell into Allied hands, significantly weakening the British defensive line and opening a path directly into the heart of Yorktown. The capture of these strategic positions was a turning point. With their outer defenses breached and no possibility of reinforcement or escape, the situation for the British grew desperate. Lord Cornwallis, recognizing the futility of further resistance, faced a grim reality. His options were dwindling rapidly, and surrender became the only viable outcome. The following days saw a flurry of negotiations and preparations for the inevitable. The morale among the American and French forces was sky-high. They knew that their hard work, coordination, and bravery were about to yield the ultimate prize. As dawn broke on October 19th, a historic moment was on the horizon. The surrender that would effectively end major hostilities and shift the course of the war. The morning of October 19, 1781, dawned on Yorktown as a day that would be etched in history. The scene was somber and charged with emotion as British troops, led by a defeated Lord Cornwallis, emerged from their fortifications to formally surrender. The once mighty army, now beaten and weary, marched out to the tune of a song called "The World Turned Upside Down," a poignant soundtrack to their unimaginable defeat. Lord Cornwallis, humbled and perhaps too ashamed to face his conquerors, claimed illness and sent his deputy to surrender his sword. General Washington, demonstrating the dignity and restraint that had earned him deep respect even among his enemies, directed the surrender ceremony with a firm yet gracious hand. The British handed over their weapons, not to the Americans, but to their French allies, a gesture that symbolized the crucial role France had played in this victory. The surrender at Yorktown was more than just a military defeat for the British. It was a decisive blow that all but ended the Revolutionary War. The news of Yorktown shocked and disheartened the British public and government, leading to a loss of political will to continue the conflict. Peace negotiations began in 1782, culminating in the Treaty of Paris in 1783. Which recognized the independence of the United States and marked the end of over 8 years of brutal warfare. The impact of Yorktown extended beyond the battlefield and the negotiation tables. It was a testament to the power of alliance and strategy over sheer might. The victory reaffirmed American independence and reshaped global politics. The siege and its outcome became a symbol of hope and a proof of concept that a new nation could defend its liberty against one of the world's most powerful empires. Thank you for joining us on this journey through one of the most pivotal moments in American history. If you're fascinated by tales of strategy, bravery, and the fight for freedom, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell icon. Dive deeper into history with us and discover more stories of incredible battles and legendary heroes. What historic event do you want us to explore next? Let us know in the comments below. Until next time, keep seeking the stories that challenge, inspire, and change us.